Welcome to Backstory and Beyond. My name is John Daniel, and I'm humbled to be your host. But I'm thrilled to be here with Judge Freddie Pitcher. Thank you for coming in, sir. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Judge Pitcher is the first African American male judge in Baton Rouge, the city of Baton Rouge. But he also is the first African American male elected to judge of the 19th Judicial District. Finally, he is the first African American elected to the First Circuit Court of Appeal. As important as that is, he's documented his journey to achieve what he's done as a lawyer and as a judge. And he wrote a book called Breaking Barriers, A View from the Bench. Thank you again, Judge, for coming in.
Thank you,
I
John.
appreciate it. You know, Backstory and Beyond, Judge, is all about understanding how to become our best. And so we look at issues like purpose, calling, peak human potential, and service to others, all which your life has represented. And we appreciate that, sir. And in the character of what you've done in the community, there were words of actions that were used. Words like love, forgive, serve, believe, all ending in VE. The Greek root of that says they're words of action. That said, sir, I want to go right into what your backstory is. What knit you together, where you came from, who were the support people in this process to help you become and achieve what you've achieved. And I know you're not done yet. So I'm looking forward to this, sir, to have a conversation. Let's take our time and enjoy a conversation. Again, sir, thank you for spending some time here.
Well, glad to be here, John. Just using the term backstory in and of itself is pretty much the reason why I wrote the book. I wanted to write something way back when I was on the Court of Appeals, but because of the workload I had, writing, researching, and so forth, I couldn't get around to it. And because basically, I wanted people to know what the backstory was as to how I became the first African American elected to the Baton Rouge City Court, the 19th Judicial District Court, and the Louisiana First Circuit Court of Appeal. Because oftentimes people will pick up something or go to Wikipedia or somewhere and they say, Judge Pitcher elected, da 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 da. But there's nothing about the backstory on how I got there. And what I wanted people to know that by adding to the history, I wanted to contribute to how it all happened. Because by doing that, hopefully I'll be able to inspire, some young Black boy or girl to be able to reach beyond where they come from, like I did, coming from Valley Park and ending up, on the bench as a judge.
That's outstanding, sir. Much appreciated. Please tell me what Valley Park means to you in terms of the success you've had.
Well, one of the things that when you start writing, and you're talking about this is a memoir, you have to be introspective and reflective because people want to know that what are the key ingredients, the character building things that happen in your life in order for you to get to where you got. And Valley Park the community where I grew up uh, had a lot to do with who I am today and who I became. It was a wonderful community to grow up in. Uh, and so, the people, the relationships that they had, all Black community uh, at that time outside of the city limits. Folks had chicken, cows, hogs, dogs, all of that in the neighborhood. Uh, but in spite of that, uh, our parents wanted us to be the best that we could be. And they in turn encouraged us. And there was the relationship amongst the folks in that community was really tremendous. And I think I told you about the Black History program that we had a couple of years ago, where we reflected upon our community uh, and our families and how they helped to grow and develop us. Over 300 people came to that program because
Wow.
they were just excited about revisiting our community and what the community in turn did for us.
I love it, sir. And on the foundation of talking about what you were knit from Valley Park, let's talk about how you came about, what motivated you to write this book.
Well, yeah, just like I said, I mean, becoming a judge, the first African American elected to a judgeship in Baton Rouge was no easy feat. Matter of fact, the demographics were not in our favor uh, at the city court nor district court level. People believed that a Black could not win. And, but based upon my history and how I came up and the things that I've been involved in over the years, at that point in time, I thought that I was ready to be a judge. And I didn't believe the naysayers. I thought that I could win and set about the business of putting together the machinery that made it all happen. It shocked a lot of people. And then that was at the Baton Rouge City Court. And then 5 years later, I decided that I wanted to be elevated to the 19th Judicial District Court. Again, those same naysayers said it can't be done. A Black cannot get elected in this environment. And we showed them wrong again. We were able to put together a team of people and the support of the Black community and a group of white lawyers who were my friends, who helped to rally enough white votes in order for us to be victorious. So I believed, and because I believed, I think we helped to generate a belief in a lot of the Black people who in turn supported me.
It's outstanding, sir. The question that comes to mind, and I want to show this book to everybody as we are speaking about it.
As a younger version of myself.
He's still good looking, y'all. Everybody. And he also motivates a lot of people. I want you to see this book, though. Hopefully, I'll get an autographed copy before he leaves. But all that said, Judge, this journey really starts with an ethos. What is it about the times, ecosystem, civil rights movements, whatever, motivated you to become a lawyer, one, and two, to believe that from that position, you could become a judge? What were the circumstances going on in Baton Rouge and Louisiana at the time you were coming out? And I know you're 21 years old.
Like Jack Bennett, 39.
But you've been there a long
Yeah.
time. So take your time, sir.
Well, a backdrop all the way to when I was 9 years old, Brown versus Board of Education in 1954.
Mm.
There were the promises of Brown. In elementary school, you had our teachers saying to us, Brown versus Board of Education, a lot of things are going to change. You'll be going to better schools and all that. And that didn't happen.
Mm.
We went through, after Brown v. Board, on to the 60s, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voters' Rights Act, all of these things, start to bubble up in you, and you have been told that things are going to change. And as a youngster, you didn't see those changes. And when I mentioned in the book about, me and some of the guys sitting on the bench in Valley Park at Owens Grocery, we were not oblivious to what was happening. And we would sit there and talk about what we wanted to be, and how we were going to make things change. And so those things stuck with me. And I started working the neighborhood service center. There was a community advancement was in Baton Rouge, which was part of the uh, President Johnson's war on poverty. And I worked at the neighborhood service center as a volunteer, trying to help people to, achieve certain things, in the neighborhood, get the neighborhood cleaned up and so forth. And that stuck with me. And then uh, I have a cousin, Alex Pitcher, who was a lawyer. He was one of the first black lawyers in Baton Rouge. And Alex used to come by, and I used to marvel at, the attention Alex got from my dad and his brothers and so forth. And Alex was an attorney for the NAACP. And so I used to listen to that stuff, and that's, gee whiz, I want to be like Alex. And those things kind of like were the seeds that, was kept bubbling and growing inside of me and making me, so I want to be a lawyer. And so going on from high school at McKinley to Southern University afterwards, off to the Army and back. And, I took a job with community advancement, working as a neighborhood worker, was a community organizer effectively, and did community organizing work. So, I wanted to be a change agent. I really did. And so, I did a little stab at graduate school after the Army. And, but that thing about being a lawyer just kept in the back of my mind. And my darling wife would not let me forget that, hey, look, you said you want to be a lawyer. When are you going to start? you know, so, off to law school. Um, and in law school at the president student bar, I passed the bar exam on my first try.
That's
Uh,
unique.
it was back during that time. It was. And matter of fact, I was the only black to pass, only person in my class to pass the bar on the first time at that time.
How many people were in your class at
Had
that time?
had about 30. Had about 30. It was law school then was very small. Um, and but passing the bar on the first rip was a big deal.
Sir, was that for anybody?
For black graduates from Southern. Um, for times we went from having one to pass, two to pass, nobody would pass. That went on over the years. But with the blessings of the Almighty, I was able to, pass on the first try.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
sir. That's awesome. Um, Tell me, what drove you? What motivated you? Why did you believe you had the credentials to become a judge? in that kind of environment?
Well, um, when I was a senior in my third year at the Southern Law School, I had the opportunity, was serving as a law clerk at the criminal division of the Attorney General's office.
Hmm.
And while there, I worked and clerked for uh, a number of white lawyers, and one of which was Kitty Kimball, who became a district court judge, and then the first woman chief justice of the Louisiana Supreme Court. I clerked for her for a short period of time. Then there was an attorney by the name of Michael Ponda, who was in that office, and Mike went on to become an assistant district attorney and became a judge on the 19th Judicial District Court. Well, first, I think a city court in the 19th. LJ Email, another lawyer who became assistant district attorney and on to become a judge, city court, district court. Um, so here it is, Freddie Pitcher, who I had the same credentials. I became an assistant district attorney, and I passed the bar on the first trip of the train, as they would say. Um, and I was a successful, fairly successful young attorney coming along. I don't like to brag on it, but I prosecuted the first capital murder case in Baton Rouge and the second one in the state of Louisiana, which was a big deal back at that time. Um, so I proved myself in the courtroom. And then, because of the work that I'd done in private practice, as well as an assistant district attorney, um, I was solicited initially by Reverend Ulysses Hayes, who was the president of the First Ward Voters League, to run for judge. And at that time, I said, Reverend, I don't think that I'm ready. I wanted to do it. And even my wife told me, say, you're not ready. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Um, then later on, I tried a case before Judge Lewis Doherty. It was a retribution case. And retribution basically is a case whereby uh, somebody sells you something and it's not worth the value of what it is, and you know, try to get them to overturn that sale. But in any event, I tried that case against some real experienced lawyers, and I whooped them. As I said, I won. Judge Doherty called me on the phone and asked me to come in to see him because he had taken the case under advisement. So I thought he was just calling me to say, tell me that I'd won the case. So I came, got there, and he said, look, you won your case. Great. He said, but have you ever thought about running for a judgeship? I said, well, Judge, I have, Reverend Hayes talked to me about it, but he said, well, you ought to think about it. And I think you'll be a good judge. I said, okay. But John, I tell you, I had a nice little law practice coming along, and I really did want to, give it up. But then, several black lawyers had run for judge and didn't win. And I got a call one day, and I talk about it in the book, from a white lawyer who I ended up running against, Bill Weatherford, because I think he heard that I may be interested in running. So he was trying to head me off at the path. So when I got on the phone with him, he said, Fred, look, I'm going to run for LJ Email's seat on the city court, and because he's going to move up, and I want to get your support. And I said, Bill, I can't support you. And that shocked him. He said, well, why? I said, because I'm going to run. I had at that I had to draw a line in the dirt at that particular point because um, just take to remember a judge then named Byron Stringer who had won a city court seat with 7,000 votes. I said, I can get 7,000 votes. I can get 7,000 votes. So after I did that, I went home and told Harriet what had happened. And she said, run. She said, I think you're ready. Man, that was big. And see, we were off and running at that time.
Judge, clearly the pearl of wisdom here is because of and in spite of. When you make a choice to do something and you set your mind to it and you get yourself ready, be ready, things can get done. Your wife, Harriet, has been a gem in this approach, and she's been there alongside you the whole time. Whether you were in the military in Germany, whether you were going through Paris, she was right there. And God, I thank you for that because it helped this man be who he is today. But then there were the naysayers
Oh, yeah.
who said, and you had to say, in spite of, I go forward.
Yeah.
This is a pearl of wisdom for young people, middle-aged people, and old people.
Yeah, I went to a Martinet Society meeting, and Martinet Society is the organization of Black lawyers, and to announce to them that I was going to run. Norbert Rayford, who was senior to all of us, and Norbert had been appointed a commissioner at the 19th Judicial District Court, and Norbert ran for a judgeship, city court judgeship. He had made a good run, but he lost. And because of that, many of the folks at that Martinet meeting said, Mr. Rayford couldn't win, therefore you can't win. I said, well, I'm going to run and I'm going to win. And John, we put together an operation that, and I write about it in the book, that was really outstanding. And Reverend Ulysses Hayes put together a clergy committee that was a backbone of this operation. Joseph Delpit. Joe Delpit was a stalwart to help me put all of this together. I remember inviting Joe to my house to tell him, how we plan to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And because, no Black had won, and, people had to be convinced that this could be done. I was able to run into and come to know a young white guy named David Roach, who was a pollster. And in conversations with David explained to me how this election was going to be a single shot election. It's the only thing on the ballot. And these kinds of elections are low turnout. Low turnout for Blacks, low turnout for whites. And the goal was to maximize the Black turnout and let the white low voter turnout stay what it always normally would be. We overperformed so much so the projection for me to win was to get at least 15% of the white vote. I got something like 25%. And it was really, fantastic. In the book, when I talk about, even when I read about it, read it myself, I get overwhelmed again, because it was really, something to behold at the time.
Couple points of reflection, Judge. One is there were troublesome circumstances at the national, state, and the city level in terms of, let's just say, fairness for all parties involved. The flip side of that is you receive support from Black people, from white people, and they supported you because of your character, your conduct, and your conversation as a lawyer and as a judge. And that's a pearl of wisdom again in terms of how we proceed to get things done. But it brings me to this point in the question. Those campaigns, as you described so far, were pretty tough. And you created a machine with Pastor Hayes and Joe Delpit and people like that to move forward. Can folks who've come after you, or are there examples of it, take advantage of the lessons you learned?
Look, absolutely. All of this and much of this is about relationships.
Mhm.
I was fortunate to be able to build relationships as I came up through the ranks. Relationships like with Joe Delpit.
Mhm.
See, because when I worked for community advancement and working as a neighborhood worker, job developer, assistant director of neighborhood youth corps, assistant director of neighborhood service centers, uh, all of those positions right within the group of a core group of community advancement was about relationships that I developed with people back then because I was helping people to get jobs, helping people to restore stuff in their communities. Um, and then those relationships, came back later on when I became a lawyer that I could tap into some of those relationships there with these people with there was a buy-in to Freddie Pitcher wanting to be a judge.
Mhm.
Um, and then, the relationships that I developed as an assistant district attorney, um, all of these things. Another thing that, and I was, before I was an assistant DA, Joe Delpit and Jewel Newman, both at the time were on the city council, asked me to give up a position that I had with the Attorney General's office to become a federal aid coordinator for city parish government. And I said to Joe, I mean, look, man, I'm a lawyer. Why do I want to be a federal aid coordinator? He said, look, you'll get a chance to continue with your private practice. But what Jewel and I are trying to do is to get more Black people in upper level positions in city government. The position that we're trying to get you to take, it was previously held by a white lawyer. And we have told them that we have a Black lawyer we want to put in this position. So, because I wanted to, again, help to make a difference, I said, okay, I would go ahead and take the position. I gave up my position with the Attorney General's office to become federal aid coordinator. But this was kind of unique in and of itself because, now I'm looking at the politics because I'm now working for the city council. I'm working for city councils. Consequently, I am now trying to help city councilmen, Black and white,
Mhm.
to achieve certain things that they wanted in their various districts. And then I had a very good friend named Cleve Taylor who worked for Mayor Dumas. And because of my relationship with Cleve, Mayor Dumas thought I worked for him. And the mayor would often call on me to go and represent him at various places. Matter of fact, sent me to Washington to represent him at an event, and then I ended up becoming an assistant district attorney because the mayor asked me to represent the mayor's office and the council when Reverend uh, uh, Jemison was
Mhm.
hosting the national uh, uh, the national convention of what's the name of the
The Baptist,
National Black
yes,
uh,
absolutely.
yeah, and had a big thing in Baton Rouge and people from all over the country here, and I was representing the mayor, and I spoke on behalf of the mayor, and the district attorney was there, and after that, he asked me to come to the DA's office.
And Pastor Jemison had offered an example to Martin Luther King
Hmm.
as to how to do bus boycotts.
Oh
That
yeah,
was an extremely important position to be in with that national affinity group.
oh yeah, oh
And
yeah,
I think they chose well.
yeah.
Well, sir, as we go through this, one of the things that I've noticed is results from a survey that was about judges and how they functioned. And I don't want to miss any of this. So if I'm looking at this piece of paper, please forgive me.
Hmm.
But what the survey said is that you, as a judge, were courteous to the public, to attorneys, to jurors, free of arrogance, efficient in managing your caseload, intelligent, and accessible during working hours. What did that survey mean to you, sir?
Well, I was very pleased, and the survey was uh, of lawyers, black and white,
Hmm.
and in that survey, I came out in a virtual tie with Judge Frank McDonald as being the top criminal court judge in Baton Rouge. Because when I took the bench, I reflected upon how I had witnessed judges handle folks in the courtroom, and particularly black people, which I didn't like.
Hmm.
I mean, I was able to garner the respect of the judges because, man, I think I was a pretty good damn lawyer, and so I did not want to be the kind of judge that I had seen judges be, and so I uh, committed myself to being the best that I could be.
I suspect that Valley Park experience with your family really underscored that. And I love it, sir. Um, I want to move on to perhaps some notable cases that you had to oversee. And I have a couple examples from your book. One was with the star, Howard Rollins. I'll name the two others, Sanders, Letard, and Fettis Taylor. All of them represented one's ability to forgive, love, believe, and serve, as we talked about before. And I think that you, sir, based upon what I read, did a pretty good job at it. But why don't you, in your words, share what's important about these cases?
Well, one of the in writing a book, um, I wanted the reader to understand some of the challenges that I had as a judge in dealing with certain kind of cases, and those cases kind of stuck out to me. There were others, but those three were, I thought, pretty interesting. First of all, I had just been elected to the district court, and as a district court judge as well as city court judge, each judge rotate uh, as to being the duty judge,
Hmm.
and the cases that come up during your duty week would inure to you to preside over during your tenure. Well, I'd only been on the bench a couple of months, and lo and behold, in that duty week, I was reading through some probable cause affidavits. These are affidavits that the arresting officers would write up as to, why they arrested this particular person and so forth. And I would have to read and make a determination as to whether or not there was probable cause to actually make
Mm-hmm.
this arrest. I had to certify it. And then the name of Howard Rollins popped up. It sounds like uh, I've heard this name before. And lo and behold, it was Howard Rollins, the actor, who was at that time they were shooting in Hammond.
Mm-hmm.
And he was caught driving over 100 miles an hour. And when they pulled him over, they could tell he was high.
Mm-hmm.
And and in the pat down, they found cocaine.
Mm.
And here we go. Howard Rollins, the noted actor, is in Baton Rouge. And I mused in the book. Uh, Here we have uh, Howard Rollins, um, actor. His character was uh, in the heat of the night. I said, here we have, he's about to have his own heat of the night right here in Baton Rouge. And when he showed up in court, and the name got around in the courthouse that Howard Rollins was, everybody, my courtroom was packed. It had folks unloaded in there. And when I had finished with his arraignment, women were running up to him, to get his autograph and so forth, and I had to bang on the gavel, ordering the court, and rush to get people out of the courtroom. But a very talented man, uh, a life that, was really lost too soon, and talent gone to waste behind drug and alcohol addiction. Um, you know, I did all I could, try to put him in situations where he could rehabilitate himself, and he did well for a while, and then he fell back off the wagon. The the Leotard case is two young white boys who and this is right around Valley Park. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the overpass over the interstate served as a launching pad for them to hurl large, uh, huge pieces of concrete off
Wow.
down onto the interstate and crash into the windshield of a young white uh, female and killed her.
Mm.
And here it is, they are in my court. Um, and what struck me was that most folks would have been, hang 'em high.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, there was a program on WXOK talk show where everybody was saying, if this was two black boys, they would, be gone for life. Everybody wanted to, hang them high. But the mother and father of the young white girl who was killed
Mm-hmm.
showed the utmost compassion for these two young men, and wanted them not to receive any jail time.
Wow.
And But, I felt compelled to, uh, not throw them away,
Hmm.
but, at the same time, uh, try to listen to, uh, the forgiveness that the parents of this young lady were showing, and this is where I talk about agape love, somebody being able to, forgive, but not necessarily forget. I took all of that in consideration, but I still felt that I had to incarcerate him. I didn't give him all that I could have,
Yes, sir.
but I wanted to make sure that there was enough whereby what they did in the sentence would serve as a deterrent, but also put them in a position whereby they would could be rehabilitated later on down the line. Um, the other case we were talking about was Feltus Taylor. Um, this was real. It was a capital murder case,
Hmm.
and even though I had prosecuted somebody for first degree murder as an assistant district attorney, that person was convicted of life imprisonment. The jury decided not to give him the death penalty because it was a very horrible murder, and the guy who committed it had um, this was his second murder. He had
Mm.
served time at Angola and came out, and he was a neighborhood terror, and he stabbed this young black 18-year-old girl, just mutilated her. So I was fighting for her.
Hmm.
But, the Feltus Taylor case, was, um it was really, really, it was a hard case for the jury because, it took a lot of time to select a jury. It's a very deliberative process, what people don't realize, it's to, select a jury and ask them to consider, um, taking a life. Making decision about life and death.
Understood.
And it's a hard decision for people. Um, and as the judge, my job was to impose the sentence based upon the recommendation of the jury. And and I write about it in a book, things that happened during the course of the trial that was pretty traumatic. And at the very end, the jury found him guilty. The jury recommended the death penalty. Matter of fact, he took the stand himself and asked the jury to give him the death penalty. Because again, he had he killed a woman at a fast food restaurant and shot multiple times. The manager who ended up being uh, uh, paralyzed, waist down.
Hmm.
And so I had to grapple with my own personal inner self as to passing on the sentence of death, which after some, uh, personal uh, challenges, I finally went ahead and made that decision and passed on it.
Understood, sir. Um, these things speak of life, living, and death. That's what a judge has to deal with. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, see, people think that being a judge is about things sustained and overruled.
Hmm.
You're sitting behind the up at your desk and everything goes on in the courtroom. But the hardest part of judging is when you're sitting in your chambers by yourself and making the decision on somebody's life. Um, that's a true test. And some people are up for it and some people are not.
Hmm.
I tell youngsters right now, uh, you know, want to be like being a lawyer. I want to be a judge. Well, why do you want to be a judge? You know, what is it about you and your background that you think will help you to be a judge? Because it's not about just saying sustain it over rule. I mean, it's kind of popular to be able to sit up and say I'm a judge and so forth, but uh, it can be hard work.
Hmm. Sir, I understand and I appreciate it. And it brings me to a point where I want to ask you about how you took some of these lessons coming out of Valley Park and you used them with community engagement. One in particular I want to talk about is the Southern University Law Center as you became chancellor, were appointed as chancellor. The others have to do with something I read in your book having to do with trying to mitigate the pipeline from the schoolhouse, the street, to the prison
Hmm.
for young people and utilizing your colleagues in the legal field to help that process be mitigated.
Right.
Take your time, sir. Anything you want to talk about, any of those two
Yeah.
things, take your time.
Um, when I was a district court judge, well, before when I was a city court judge, I was involved with the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, and uh, they had a very robust adoptive school program. And in that program, matter of fact, Judge Frank Palazzola, who was a federal court judge at the time, he and I were the two lead judges who participated in the program. And what our job was to, every time they had a company to adopt the school, we performed a ceremony like we were doing an adoption in court,
Mhm.
and was able to explain to the youngsters, what a judge does and so forth, um, and I thought that was important because, I mean, the first time I went to a elementary school and had on my black robe. A lot of little black kids ran up to me. Hey, Reverend, so I had to explain to, well, I got this robe on, but I'm actually a judge and had to, sit down and explain to them what a judge does. When I became a district court judge, I got a call from a teacher who asked me to come and speak. It was at a middle school, speak to her students at the middle school, predominantly black. And she told me about the absenteeism and all of the problems that they were having, and basically, I went and kind of like read the riot act to them and tried to give us some encouragement, and she liked what I had to say and asked me would I come back. I said, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And because at that time it was just one class, but she wanted to pull together a whole group, a bigger group.
Mhm.
And so I then solicited black lawyers with the Martinet Society and a couple of other black judges at the time to say, look, we need to do something to try to help save as many of our kids as we possibly. And we were able to connect with the school board uh, to uh, deal with kids who were on the verge of being put out of school. And the only way they could save themselves was to participate in our program. We,
Mhm.
we, we put together a program called MALL, the Metropolitan Area Law League, and we would bring kids uh, in on a Saturday once a month and run them through uh, 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 several modules: drugs and crime in the community, uh, the education and employment, um, and positive self-imaging and self-esteem. And they would rotate through each one of the modules. We also brought in some prisoners from uh, Dixon Correctional Institution
Mm-hmm.
in our drugs and crime in the community module. Because what we wanted to do was to kind of like uh, just show them the interrelationship of these things and how these things worked, uh, and how they can uh, stay away from it and become successful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, we had buy-in from the school board. We had, and we raised the money. The lawyers and judges raised the money. We paid for school buses to pick the kids up, bring them down to the central place.
Mm-hmm.
They provided space down there for us, and we did a light breakfast and a lunch for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that once a month, and that went on for several years. After I went to the Court of Appeals, I kind of like was away from the direct traffic, and I turned it over to some other people to run.
Yes, sir. Um, Staying in harmony, we'll come back to Southern University Law Center.
Yeah,
But
okay.
we will. But,
Mhm.
there was something that I had the honor of sharing with you. It was called Scholars Laboratory and Boys Hope, Girls Hope. And we did something like you're talking about now called kitchen table talk.
Mhm.
And the essence of that was for folks like you and from multiple different genres of business to come in and share where they came from and how they proceeded to be successful and continue to learn. That particular program actually was aired by PBS when we filmed it. But one of the interactions, which the media covered, was with you, sir. You came in and shared your experience from Valley Park, from the Owens bench to the bench.
Yeah.
And we appreciated that. And by the way, I want to say to the public, the young people that Judge Pitcher spoke to went on to become engineers.
Mhm.
They went on to graduate from West Point, from the
Okay.
United States Naval Academy, going into things like coding and technology. But it was the circles of support that folks like Judge Freddie Pitcher offered that made the difference. Because anybody can come and mentor about mathematics, but to have the courage that you showed in your life, that because of and in spite of, you move forward. Sir, share a little bit about that experience.
Well, first, John, it was an honor for me to do that, and for you to have invited me to speak to the youngsters, because I just thought that my background and experience, they show the kids that, I come from the same kind of zip code they come from.
Mm-hmm.
And, having, come from that zip code, um, it was not a bar for me to be able to become who have become. Um, and, because I had, I didn't get there in a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
There was zigs and zags, and I had to have people to sit down and talk to me and straighten me out too, because at one point I had a real bad temper. But for, having some folks to explain the rules of the road to me and how to get from one point to the next, I wouldn't have be able to sit here and talk to you now. So, we got to give back. We have to show kids that there is a way. In spite of, there is a way. But you have to believe that you can overcome it, and don't let people tell you no, because the old thing, oh boy, oh girl, you ain't gonna be nothing. Yeah, you gonna be
Mm-hmm.
something. Other people have done it. Now, and one of the things I look at today, today. there are so many heroes and sheroes that our kids can point to and say, I want to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
But back during my day, we didn't have, the images that kids have today. We ain't no astronauts and a lot of people like that and all these different kind of positions that, black folks have achieved. But you have to believe in yourself, believe that you can achieve it. Yeah, as they say, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that's what I was promoting. And I think I got some of this, from my parents, but I also got it from, people in Valley Park where, boy, if you don't do the right, I'm gonna go tell your parents. That would straighten you up in a minute, So
Yes, indeed.
yeah.
No doubt about it. The loving parents you had. Well, as they cultivated, mentored, facilitated your growth, you facilitated the growth of multiple law students at the Southern University Law Center. Please tell us about the trek to taking that appointment and leading and the things that you really believe are important that you accomplish.
Well, I mean, it's a road and a trek that I really didn't expect to go on because which we hadn't talked about was that when after my election to the Court of Appeals, I had a 10-year term, and I left the Court of Appeals, take a position as a partner in a major law firm, Phelps Dunbar. Um, and I left the bench at the time because I said, when I came, I was the only one. Now there are 9. So the same reason why I came in the first place doesn't exist anymore. I want to break ground in another area.
Mm-hmm.
And I became the first black partner at this law firm in the Baton Rouge office.
Mm-hmm.
And there were only 2 other black partners in the whole of that whole law firm. And so I was happy uh, and making good money because I got a Godfather deal in order to leave the bench to come there. But then I started getting, I'd been at Phelps for, I think, around 6 years at the time. And I started getting calls from some of our alums from the law center
Mm-hmm.
after uh, Chancellor B.K. Agnew had retired and stepped down to take a position as an at-large ambassador for the country of India, his home country. And I was not all that keen about it because I was having a good time as a partner in a major law firm,
Yes, sir.
traveling, doing a whole bunch of great stuff. But it kept nagging at me because, as I mentioned earlier, that our bar passes rate was, it's always been in the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on the verge of being put on probation by the American Bar Association, the accrediting agency for law schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so alums reached out to me and asked me to apply. So I said, well, I'll think about it. So I went up to Southern, made an appointment with Dr. Leon Tarver, who was the president at the time. And I said, Mr. President, I'm contemplating applying for a position of Chancellor of the Law Center. I said, now, if you already have somebody that you are going to be behind, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's an open process, I have no problem with competing for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's open, I'm going to apply. He said it's open. I went for it, and was fortunate enough the board appointed me as the chancellor. My goal as the chancellor was number 1 to increase the bar passage.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I wanted to improve the law center's image in the legal and the academic uh, arenas.
Yes, sir.
And because I believe all of this will in turn help the law center to grow and prosper. And we were successful at doing that. We improved the law center bar passes over 50%.
Mm.
We, you know, because of my relationships with the Black Caucus, Cleo Fields, and State Representative Charles Jones, we were able to start getting money infused into the law school because, we had the lowest um, tuition of any law school in the country.
Hmm.
And you can't expect, I mean, a law degree is a very valuable degree.
Yes, sir.
I mean, but it shouldn't be cheap to achieve.
Right.
And students want all the bells and whistles that they see other students have at these other schools.
Hmm.
And I said, the only way we can do it by increasing the bar passes, also getting the legislature to give us more money. And I went for it, and we got it.
And when you say cheap,
Yeah.
I don't think you're talking about a price point. I think you're talking about rigor and
Well,
being willing to work for it.
oh yeah. I mean, and that's another thing. In terms of, I went about the building a stronger faculty.
Hmm.
I brought in people who, I would not hire anybody who didn't pass the bar exam on the first time.
Hmm.
Um, I set out to. There's the Association of American Law Schools is an organization that a former dean at a law school who had served on a committee came down to review Southern, told me in San Francisco at a meeting that he never, ever imagined that the Southern University Law Center could become a member of that prestigious organization. Hey, brother, we became a member because one of the criteria was to have a faculty that had a research agenda, being able to
Hmm.
publish, you know, articles of import.
Hmm.
So I hired people who had research agendas. I had people who, and because I told them, I said, look, if you're going to teach, there got to be something that piques your interest that you want to write about, because in doing so, you're going to also help to provide a better education for your students.
Hmm.
I mean, now I got pushback when I first went there, because a lot of these folks, the old heads, had been sitting there just going through the motions. And I had, of the 20 or so faculty members I had at that time, I only had 4 who bought into what I was talking about. So I had to work around the rest of them. And then they all started to tune in
Wow.
because, we were going to make this happen. I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't, I'm not going to let, I wasn't going to let the tail wag the dog. John, as you know me, I, uh, I believe in who I am.
Mhm.
And, I had some rough times with dealing with the board at Southern. I remember not giving in to something folks on the board wanted.
Mhm.
And I was approached by the then Chancellor Ed Jackson of the Baton Rouge campus. Said, Freddie, man, if you don't do what they say, they're going to fire you. I said, man, look, I had a job before I came here. I'm not, I'm only going to do what's right.
Right.
And so I got over that hurdle. But it was an interesting run. We became a better law school. We became an excellent law school. And I was proud of what we achieved. We started a study abroad program that we ran for over 10 years in London. Students got a chance to do some things that they never thought they would ever be able to do. So, in one of my then, it's just a lot of things, just a lot of things.
It's huge, Judge, and we tout this word leadership quite often in our society. But the synonym and the more action oriented expression of leadership is to influence positive change.
Right,
And that's what you did. And you had to have the grit to stick to what you believed was right. And
right.
that's a very important, once again, another salient point. What's clear about this conversation, Judge, that's exactly what it is there's so much more we really need to attend to. And I pray that we can, as we come to a close on this, we can come to a second edition of this. But before we close, I want to do a few things. And one, it'll be the final question. Ask you if there's anything that you think is critical, crucial, that we should attend to from your perspective for this particular episode. But the other thing, that'll be last.
Mhm.
The other thing is to do a word association game, sir.
As opposed to doing that, I have something I want to read out of.
That's fine. That's
Mhm.
fine, sir. Take your time. Take your
Okay,
time.
can I?
Yes, please.
I generally do this in a lot of my book talks, and it's on page, I think, 164. You allow me to put these on.
Take your time, sir. This is our conversation, and I'm gaining insight from it.
I think about the time I spent sitting on the bench in front of Orange grocery store, not knowing what my future held, and marvel at what I have been able to accomplish.
Mm.
Never did I envision that I would be elected to a judgeship 3 times over, nor did I imagine serving as an associate justice ad hoc on the Louisiana Supreme Court, becoming a partner in a major law firm, or being a chancellor of a law school. Most of the boys on the bench would have been thrilled with a trip to New Orleans. To think that I would be making multiple trips to teach and lecture at law schools in Europe, Africa, and Asia was out of the question. On one of my trips to the Republic of Turkey, I received an honorary Doctor of Law degree from Siirt University, an honor unimaginable during my days on the neighborhood bench. None of these things were on my radar screen growing up. However, I chose not to let the fog of the segregated society in which I grew up dictate the chapters in my life. I stepped outside of my comfort zone and developed the fortitude to forge relationships through jobs and social networking that created opportunities for me to achieve my eventual goal of becoming a judge. God opened doors, and I walked through them. This memoir is my story, one that I'm grateful to tell. I tell it to encourage other young people to dream big, work hard, and never give up. I was able to take a journey that led me from the neighborhood bench to the bar as a lawyer, to the bench as a judge, and to points beyond to make history and experiencing a world I never thought I would see.
I love it, sir. I love it. I'm going to show this book one more time so people can see it. Breaking Barriers, a view from the bench.
5-star on Amazon.
Come on now. And as we close, I want to do a word association game with you. First word, purpose.
To achieve and to give back.
Excellent. Second word, serve.
With all my heart.
I love it. Third word, calling.
As to who he set things out for me to be.
Finally, do you have a peak human potential?
A peak
Human potential.
in human potential.
Have you achieved everything that you want to achieve? Have you reached the precipice of what you're capable of at this point?
Well, you know, John, let me say that I'm gonna go ahead and age myself. I'm 80 years old,
Yes, sir.
and I've been blessed to still be here and have a fair amount of health and strength. And I still think that I still have some things to say and lend. And again, and I do it through this book. Like tomorrow, I told you I'll be speaking up at Southern in the John B. K. Library. Um, so I try to share, and because a lot of the things that I experience, and some of the are relevant today that youngsters can take advantage of and help to improve their situation. Even from in the political arena, folks who nowadays running for political office, there's some things in here that I think would help them. Um, and so, no, I still have a little more to give. I still got a little more gas in the tank.
I love it, sir. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, John.
Big brother.
Thank you, man.
And I look forward to seeing you again, sir.
Okay,
Blessings to you and your family.
fantastic. Same here. Same
Good.
here. Very good.